speak about like mental health in like players now. I want to know like what are your views in terms of like what clubs should be doing in terms of helping like players with their mental health.
I believe that that you know, there's a lot of players out there that have gone through a difficult time and really felt the effects of the mental side of being involved in football. Obviously, we do have mental health with non-footballers, but I just feel that there needs to be a lot more out there and a lot more awareness in terms of being able to sort of, you know, speak out about things. And was I going through a mental health a situation when I lost my son? Maybe, I don't know whether I was or I wasn't, but I didn't speak out. So maybe that might have been a part of me having a little bit of a mental health problem where I didn't really speak openly about it. But I wouldn't say that I did, because I managed to overcome that. But a lot of players or people in general don't overcome it. I just feel that with the football clubs, the environment that they're in, and like I said, it goes back to managers as well. It goes back to making sure that pick the phone up. You know, I had managers that I've spoke about earlier. Pick the phone up. Don't worry about football. How are you in yourself? Is everything okay? Is your family okay? And the more that there's more of that, even like you know, like everything that's surrounding at football clubs with the physio, with the doctors and everything like that, they have so much that they can have there. But how many times do they pick the phone up? How many times do they ring their players in the week to say, listen, everything all right? You know, is there anything that might be bothering that you can't talk to your wife or your girlfriend about? Do you need anything? Just a phone call. Because some people need that. Some people don't get a phone call every day off people that want to know that they're okay. Some people might just, you know, when I finished my career, there weren't many people that picked up the phone to me. And then I was on my own and I didn't know what direction I was going. And, you know, these are the things that really matter. You know, a phone call just to see, you know, I think but there might be managers that are doing that, but, you know, you still got to make sure that people are okay, your players are okay. It's all about players when you're playing football. You know, it's all about making sure that they're okay. And we all go through things. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be open about it, because mental health is a silent sufferer. So we have to make sure that that communication and that trust with the managers that you're playing for are there to give that support.
Mm-hmm. And adding on to that, obviously you deal with children as well. How do you find like the balance between, because we know football's very performance based, and even from a young age, I remember me growing up playing in a couple teams and clubs, and even seeing my little brother going through this. You're always kind of under stress to kind of perform, because it's a performance based sport kind of thing, especially if you want to make it to elite levels. How do you kind of find the balance between telling a child that, okay, you can improve, you're not as good as you think you are, and trying to not kind of crush them or not trying to put too much pressure on them, if you get what I'm saying?
My main responsibility as a coach, you see, one thing that I've always believed in is that being a coach, if you want to make somebody better, you should incorporate something into training drills that can help them without them knowing. So if you can spot something in a player that they're not very good at, you can always incorporate stuff into a training drill or into a training session that will help them with certain things. I think being a coach, and when they are so young, everything's about confidence. It's about making sure that you have got the trust of the kids. You know, kids don't forget. So if you say the wrong thing to a young kid, they don't forget. They're as honest as anything. So you have to speak to people the right way. They're human beings. They've got to come in here. They have fun. Everybody's the same. They all get looked after in terms of, you know, the football kit. You know, the reason why I give them a football kit is because I didn't have football kits when I was a young kid. I couldn't afford it. And, you know, we went back onto the term of, you know, when I told you about my mum having to mask and tape my boot and that, I couldn't afford football kits. So my first thought was to give kids a football kit, is because some kids might not be able to afford it, but they can all look the same and they feel important. They feel that they are part of the group. They are somebody. And all I've wanted to do is see kids enjoy play football, and wanted to get them to understand that it's not just about playing football, it's about developing people. And they all come in here, and I've had not one single problem with kids or with parents or attitude or behaviour. And it's been the best thing that I think I've done since I've finished, in terms of not coaching in Iceland, but coming back here and being able to do what I'm doing has really, really opened my eyes to being in an environment. Because I always say to the parents and the kids, don't worry about my career. You know, I'm the same as you. I want to be the same as you now. I want to show you that I can help you. I can be around you, give you the right guidance. I have been through a lot, but I can help you with that. And it's all about helping people in life, you know, and this is where I'm at with it all. And, you know, I'm grateful for everything that I've got, but I've been grateful enough to get the trust of parents to coach their kids.
Wow. That's crazy. I was going to ask as well, Nigel, knowing that your academy is based in Birmingham, do you see a lot of difference between the level of talent from your typical, well, not typical, but from South London or a Londoner footballer compared to, you know, the Midlands? Do you find a difference in terms of the level, or is it more or less the same?
Even style as well.
With academy football, it's not based on a winning mentality until you go full time. So the main infrastructure is you have the development phase, and then you have the youth phase, and then the development is obviously the really young ones going from 9 till 12, because you can't sign until you're 9, and then you go till 12, and then you go from 12 into the youth phase, and then as you're getting older up to the 15, 16s to gear into the youth team, that's when it sort of all changes on the mentality side of things. A prime example, my son's in at Wolves, and Wolves don't have a philosophy at that young age to win football matches or anything like that. They're all about development, and that's the way it should be. Compared to being down south, my son has played against teams, so I do get to see, you know, teams down south, and I get to see the teams in the Midlands, and he plays against Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and stuff like that. And the groups of players, they've all got great players, but everyone develops differently. So I was a late developer, like a July, so they call it like the late developers, which is June, July, August. So you could be the youngest in the year, and then you might have the September, October, November, and they're the older ones in the year. Then the ones that are in June, July, August they're effectively playing a year up. So then they're always having to push themselves a little bit more. But then later on, I matured and I grew a lot more in myself, and that's how I developed later on, and then that's how it all works. But the standards good at academy level. But then I say to my son, just go and play, have some fun. Don't worry about nothing else, just play, have some fun, be a kid. Because I don't know where he's going to be. He might not like football in 2 years. He might want to go and do something else. But I've always said, just enjoy your life. Don't worry about anything. You know, this academy football is, you know, it's an opportunity to kids to go into a great environment, have fun, get better. Don't take it too serious, but just enjoy yourself and be a kid. And my relationship with him is I'm his dad. So all I've ever asked for as him is to don't let me have to go in and you're not behaving yourself. That's all I've asked for. I've never asked for anything else. Just behave yourself, listen to your coaches. And I'm his dad, so I don't get involved in anything. They're his coaches. They take that time from their family to want to help my son get better and the other kids. So leave them alone, let them play. But, you know, the level, it all changes because later on, kids are going to develop differently. And, you know, the football clubs are very aware of that, and they adapt quite well to how the kid is coming along. So, you know, there's ups and downs with kids at the moment. And, you know, as long as they're enjoying it, just play and have some fun.
Amazing. So it's gonna seem like I'm so soppy like every time I come on. Just to kind of say from what Shegs was saying, and you mentioned it in terms of the mental health. I just want to dive a little bit deeper. You're a learned person. I mean, for someone to learn another language, I mean, I'm struggling to learn another language myself. I'm trying now, and I'm using YouTube as my teacher, but it's not going well at the moment. But No, one thing I will say is you was in an era where there was no such thing as mental health. There was no such thing as speaking out. I mean, you've already kind of, given us an insight into how your life was, specifically in terms of your transition from certain club to club, and how Pulis reached out and, gave you the psychiatrist and things like that. England in 2006, I believe it was, when they went to the World Cup, they had a psychiatrist, things like that. Beforehand, obviously, when you made your career in the late 90s kind of thing, that kind of bloom, I mean, how do you feel like players were? Like, what was the kind of camaraderie? Like, what was the kind of effect if you was to speak out back then? And has there actually been a massive difference now? Because obviously social media's kind of, it's, in a sense, the bully, if it can be seen as that. Because, you've got the players that have that bravado and they say, oh, shut up, mate, and whatnot. Do you know what I mean? So it's not really, you couldn't really speak out about your feelings back then. But now, even now, it's kind of like that element of social media might have brought that back. So how do you feel the transition has been from then until now? And what was your kind of, insight into it?
My insight into it was, because I was one of the youngest players in the group, I sort of tried to look up to the players that were in at the club at that time. So, it was, football's changed. Football's moved on. One thing that was obviously was that bit of banter in the changing room and stuff like that. And, someone might have a story on you or know something about you and stuff like that. Or, but the mental side of playing football is the hardest part, which is having to worry about what goes on out there in social media. Back then, there was no social media. I'm talking my age now. But, you know what I mean? But if you think about it, back then there weren't no, I tried to say to my kids, have you heard of Spectrum? And they're like looking at me as if to say, you know what I mean? Like, and then I say, you got Xbox and all this. I say, you don't even know what that Commodore 64 is. And you know what I mean? So back then, an Atari and all that, you know what I mean? So back then, there was no social media. So I don't think the communication level was very, very good to what it is now, because everybody can speak out on social media. Everybody can sort of, communicate, and there's a lot of opinions out there. But me being a young player back then, I was in awe of being around these top players playing in the Premier League. And, you didn't really get to dive into people's personal lives then, because, you look at Man United and you look at Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, all the teams in the Premier League back then, no one really sort of interacted outside of football. No one knew too much about people's personal lives. Unless they went to a nightclub or anything like that, then that's when it would sort of all come out a little bit, or there was something else that people wanted to speak about. But then you look at it now, and there's players out there that have spoken out and they've got scrutinised about it. And you think all they're basically explaining is that they're human, they're having a difficult time, this is what's gone on, this is how they feel, and everybody has the right to feel down. Everybody has the right to be upset about certain things. It doesn't necessarily mean that social media takes advantage of that. And I know people feel, oh yeah, you're earning this amount of money, but as we know at this pandemic at the moment, pound notes don't save lives. So we have to be a little bit more. This is why I keep saying there needs to be a lot more togetherness in the world, and a lot more sort of understanding with people. Everybody's different. Everybody has different emotions and feelings. And like I said, I'd like to wake up tomorrow and the world's a better place. But we're not going to get that at the moment. We might not ever get that again because of everything that's going on. And what's gone on in 2020, I've never known a year like it. So there's people dying, and there's people suffering. Families are grieving. People are losing loved ones. And then we have people out there that still find the time to abuse other people, when you think, I'm sure there's more important things going on in the world to do that,
Yeah. Pound notes don't save lives. I'm gonna write that one down.
Yeah, but it's true though, isn't it? Everybody,
it's so true. It's so true.
It's true, because it doesn't matter how much money people have at the moment, or don't have money, or whatever. Pound notes don't save lives. At the end of the day, we're in a really difficult time now, and with what the NHS have done has been remarkable, and what people are doing out there in terms of trying to play a part in everything like that. All we need to do is sit back a little bit, reflect, and play a part in trying to make the world a better place. And it's hard out there, and people are suffering. So we just have to, we've got to stay focused. Listen, it's been a bad year. I've not experienced a year like this in probably in my lifetime so far. And know what the hardest thing is? It's going to be the next generation, or are going to be the ones that are going to have the full effects of it. And this is where we've got to try and make sure that they can grow up as well, and understand it a lot more. And there'll be more, hopefully they'll be able to sort of focus more on where they're going to go in their lives once we come through
it. Just speaking about, just reflecting, I know you touched on your playing, but I want to go back to your playing career just quickly. Because there's been you mentioned a lot of teams, and you mentioned high level players. Like, if you could just name some of the players that stood out for you during your playing career, as a midfielder, or one.
You're asking me that because you've got an Arsenal top on, isn't it?
No, of course not. No. Yeah.
Listen. There's a few Arsenal players in here, but I have to tell you, I can't just go 1, 2, or 3. I have to. There's a load that I've played against, and I will. I'll tell you. You go on. If you finish the question, I'll tell you.
No, that was it. That was a question.
I'll save the Arsenal one till last. Then, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. When I look back at it, and the likes of the ones that I played against in my position, which was Vieira, Gerrard, Scholes, Pirlo, Gattuso, Alonso, Valeron, endless in midfield. I played against some great players. But you know what the thing about it was? And because you've got your Arsenal shirt, and I'm going to tell you the story. So Southampton played Arsenal at St Mary's, and do you remember when Van Persie got sent off?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
So
I remember
me and Vieira were going at it the whole game, like going at it, so tackling and everything. So the game finished, and I think we drew 1-1 that game. And so it's a good result and everything like that. So as I'm walking off the pitch, I can see Vieira in the tunnel looking at me, and I'm thinking, oh man, come on, like just go back to your changing room. And I was walking down the tunnel, and I thought, I'm in trouble here. And then he shook my hand and said, listen, I enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to playing against you again. And that, and just people like that on a football pitch. All the top players were just great people. They enjoyed the competition. They enjoyed going at it. They enjoyed, competing, but great people to go with it. And all those sort of midfielders and players like Thierry Henry and Ruud van Nistelrooy. You look at all these, Lampard and all these players. You know what stands out? That they're good people as well. That's the thing about it. Whenever I've seen them, they've always been polite and respectful, and you understand why that they were at the top of their game. And players like that, when a game wasn't going well for their team or anything, they would be them sort of players were the ones that would be able to sort of take control of how the game was going, turn it around, and play a part in their team winning. That's what makes the top players the difference between a lot of the other players. They know, and they can notice that the game ain't going their way, but they can really have those qualities in knowing how to turn it around and push the team on. And that's why they've gone on to win major trophies and stuff like that.
Wow. I wanted to ask, in your playing career, you mentioned some big names there, some very big names. Is there ever a time you were starstruck? Obviously, you got introduced to the game kind of young, 17, you said. Was there
Yeah.
any player you played against? Well, not starstruck, but like, you were like, wow, I'm actually in this game involved with this guy.
I think when you're playing, there's not enough time to think and look at players like in the terms of, oh, I'm playing against this player. But I think the one that really stood out for me the most was when I made my debut at Man United, and I was standing in the tunnel, and then all of a sudden there was this guy walking with this ball underneath his arm, and he's walking right with his chest out, and just proper like got some swag, like walking down the tunnel. And it's like Eric Cantona standing there. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
You're thinking that's when it really sort of kicks in that you're playing against like an iconic player. But then when you've played a game, you then realise how good these players are. Do you know what I mean? Like when you have your team talk before the game, they put the ball up. I used to play against some teams. Used to put the ball up, and like just say, for instance, the top teams like who you support and stuff like that. And I used to say to myself sometimes, you might as well just bring some Asics, man, because you're just going to run. You don't even touch the ball. You know what I mean? Like just turn up your runners and that, because they just keep the ball. And fantastic teams, fantastic players. But you know, it was just good to play, and I'm just grateful that I was given an opportunity to be somebody. But like I said before, without those people that from South London, I wouldn't have been able to have had that drive and that motivation to really go and want to do something for myself. So it's been great, but now I can look back and say I enjoyed it. But now all the things that I've learned, now it's time to give back.
Did you ever think that you would play at international level? I just wanted to ask that one, because I mean I saw that you played for, or you represented Scotland, and I think that's you're the second. Is that the second black?
That's right.
Scottish player, off the top. Yeah. How was that for you? I mean, like being representing Scotland.
It was great because I played for England up to England B, and you know, the midfield at that time for England was something else. So, you know, you look at a lot of the things with England now, the midfield has been unbelievable. And to get into the middle of the park for an England team, you're going to have to be something. And, you know, Scotland approached me. They knew my mum's side, my granddad was full-blown Scottish, so they checked me out and done the background checks on me. And Bertie Volks was the manager at the time. And he had won the World Cup with Germany, and as a coach and as a player as well. And he mentioned to me about coming and playing for Scotland, and I went up for training and everything like that. And the players were fantastic. All the players were there at the time. You know, Barry Ferguson, Darren Fletcher, you know, Chris Boyd, you know, David Weir. You know, Scotland had some really, really good players, and I was involved with that, and made my debut against Trinidad and Tobago as well, and that was a great experience. And I managed to score on my debut, but I was accepted. But I was accepted by the Scottish fans and the community, and they were very, very great towards me ever since I continued to play. But then when I got injured, I didn't really get to play as much as I'd like to. But it was a privilege to play and to have a part of my family that was part Scottish as well. I thought it was the right thing to do, and you know, I've been able to do that, so I'm grateful for the opportunity with that as well.
Yeah, it's just there's so much. Well, obviously we're coming to the end of the show, but there's a few questions. Obviously, I know all of us want to ask, but I'll start with me quickly. You know, what is your ultimate goal for your academy? I know you've already kind of achieved great things by having 15 professional, having them signed. That's an amazing achievement. But what else? What is the next level? What is your final thing that you want to achieve with your academy?
Well, the next level is basically I've got other countries that want the academy. So I'm building the hub here, and there's other countries that want the academy. I'm going to be playing games later on, but I'm building an environment for the community. And I want to make sure that kids and adults can come here and know that they're in an environment and know that they can be the best that they can be and enjoy who they are and I want to make sure that I contribute in that way. And we've done that, and it's still growing, and I'm still building. And I'm looking to really see the community come together. So in other countries, they want the academy. I've had people in America that want it. I've had people in Holland that want it, and it is growing in other countries as well. There's about 7 other countries that have seen what I'm doing. So for me, would I like to expand, which I am going to be doing, but I want to make sure that I can play a part in helping people. That's the most important thing for me, is making sure that I can have an influence on not everybody's life, because I won't be able to do that, but try and have a positive influence on people and help them. And that's what it's all about, really. And, see academies, I would enjoy seeing a player going on and playing at the highest level. But I will get more satisfaction out of somebody from the academy saying that I tried to help them and be the best that they could be. So that's more important for me.
I'll just pitch in just something that we was talking about at the beginning, right at the beginning, before we even started the show. Mr. George Floyd, obviously, I mean, we've all probably seen the controversy and the things that's gone on in the media as well.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to hear your views, your own personal views, if you wanted to shed some light on how you think the situation is, and where you think it should go and things like that.
It's a sad time. Being half black as well. This goes back years and years and years and years and years, and things like this is uncalled for. Things like this is really, really putting things into perspective on where people are equal. And I look back at it, even going back to years, but everything that's going on with George Floyd and his family, it adds to another part of this being one of the worst years I've probably experienced. And to see people in America and people putting their views, and say people in the public eye and every walk of life, to try and make that change is something that should never be stopped. And I look at it and I can't believe what I'm seeing. This is going back a long time. Now we're in 2020 and people just are not changing. I just don't understand it. And it shows that the way that we want to move forward as a world is stopped by people that are detrimental to people being happy, enjoying their lives, being successful. And I don't really get what people are going to get out of the fact of being racist. I don't understand it. It's just some Stone Age material, old school mentality. And the hardest thing about it is you have to turn on your TV and you have to see people suffering. And you're seeing families upset, George Floyd's family. You look at it and it is a sad time. And I don't know where it's going to go. I honestly don't. And hopefully justice prevails and everything all comes to light in terms of where the world can go. But I've said it before, I'd like to wake up and know that the world's in a better place, but not even that's guaranteed. Lives are at risk as well. But then we're taking, a racist issue with a police officer and a guy that basically just wants his life to see another day, and that gets taken away from him. It's disgusting.
Yeah. No, it is. What I was gonna say, just going on the whole racism thing quickly, how do you feel that the players are tackling it now? The current players, your Raheem Sterling, he's been subject to racial abuse. Even some other players, even players that are not playing anymore. Ian Wright the other day as well. Do you feel like the FA is doing enough? Do you feel like they have done enough to protect the players, or do you think that something else should be done on a professional level?
On a professional level, there should be everything done. There's enough money from the FA that they can provide to stop all of this. With all these fake accounts that are on social media, why don't people have to put their passports up? Why don't people have to put proper identification? I think it's too easy to have access to social media and be able to be in contact with people and degrade them because of the colour of their skin. I think Kick It Out are doing a great job. I think everything that they're doing, I think they've been adamant about it. But there's enough money in football to stamp this out. And there's enough money in football that goes around with the Premier League and Sky. There should be more contribution to it. No black player in football deserves to be racially abused because of the colour of their skin. Football's got nothing to do with the colour of your skin. We all bleed the same. That's it. The colour of the skin has got no effect on anybody. So I don't understand why people need to say the things that they say. But at the end of the day, it just proves that it comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And is it the people that are raising them? Because you don't just become racist overnight.
Sure.
And for me, coming from a predominantly black area that I'm extremely proud of, and they have played a huge part in how I've gone on to, have a career. I've received numerous racial abuse, and I've received it from my own team that I've played for. And I look back at it and I think to myself, like, surely there's more things that people can do to prevent this happening, especially with the social media side of things and the things that goes on in football stadiums and the way people say things in stadiums. Nah, come on. Everybody, listen, you're telling me that nobody can't hear somebody make a racist remark to a player on a football pitch or walking down the street or anything like that? Because if it was anybody walking down the street, I don't think anyone would be putting up with it. But it's something that, Sterling, the way that he's gone about it, he's been fantastic. He's been an inspiration to everybody. And I think all the black players have stood their ground, and rightly so, and they've been an inspiration, and they are proving to the football world and their communities that they are leading the way for the next generation. And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be any other way, but it shouldn't even be getting to this.
Yeah, it's very true. It is very true. And I mean, on that note, in terms of leading to the next generation, I have to thank you so much, Nigel, for that. That seemed like it was I was in a class. It was a lesson. It was a lesson that I needed. It was a conversation that I needed, and I'm sure the followers, once they listen to it and watch it back, it's something that, I don't regret missing this at all. I'm so glad I didn't miss this interview. It's been a pleasure to have you on board, and obviously from the Backpage, we just wish you all the best with your academy, with what you're doing, and you've definitely inspired me, and I'm sure the rest of the guys here to give more back to our communities, and to go back to how it used to be, because I'm sure when you was growing up, you had that kind of community feeling. People would look out for each other. People would want the best for each other. And somehow along the way, we've kind of lost it. But it's individuals like yourself that are trying to rebuild that. And not just in London, you're doing it in Birmingham, and you want to take that worldwide as well. You've got my utmost respect, honestly.
Most importantly is thanks very much for your time, because like I said, I've seen what you guys are doing. And it's important for people like me to be able to respond to what you're doing. And I appreciate what you're doing, because without people like you and giving people an insight into how things do actually work, or how footballers do react in certain ways, or how they respond to certain things, it's a credit to you and all of you. And, I am really, really grateful to even be able to sit with you guys and talk to you guys, not with that Arsenal top on, but no, seriously, I'm extremely proud to have met you all and really talk to you. And if there's anything that I can help you with, please just pick the phone up.
No, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys,
and listen, most importantly, stay safe and take care. And I wish all your families well and safe.
The same to you, and same to you.
The same to you. Right back at you, guys. You've been listening to the Backpage. You've been listening to the Backpage. We had Nigel Quashie on. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for being here. And, you know, as Nigel said, take care of yourselves during this whole thing. All right. God
Take
bless
care.
you.